Level 1. Solo Founder Startup Phase. There is no alarm because there is no schedule. The day begins when you decide it does. You are the entire operation, the product, the pitch, the plan. Every dollar you spend is a gamble, and every gamble feels like it could be the last one. You write the code. You design the pages. When something breaks at midnight, you fix it yourself because there is nobody else. You send cold emails into silence. You make calls that go unanswered. Rejections arrive without context or kindness. You run the marketing, test the messaging, post the content, and start over when nothing lands. When a customer finally responds, you handle their problem personally. Everything runs through you. There is no paycheck. Revenue is either absent or unpredictable. You tell yourself this is temporary, that momentum is just around the corner, but stability, in income, in growth, in confidence, is nowhere in sight. You question the idea. You question the market. On harder days, you question your own judgment. Working long hours does not guarantee outcomes. You can pour everything into a day and walk away with nothing measurable. That is not pessimism. That is the reality of this stage. If it collapses, there is no safety net inside the business, only whatever you had before you started. And still, you continue, because one moment changes the entire equation. The moment a stranger hands you money, not encouragement, not a compliment, money, the idea becomes a business. And you stop being someone with a dream. You become a CEO with something real to run. Level 2, Small Startup CEO. Your morning now begins with other people's messages. The team is small, 2, perhaps 5 people, but their presence changes everything. These are individuals who joined before there was proof, before there was stability. Now their livelihoods are connected to your decisions. That weight is new. Customers exist. They are paying. That distinction matters more than it sounds. Revenue is uneven, but it is real, and it creates a different kind of pressure than pure uncertainty. You track cash flow the way a pilot tracks fuel. Runway, how many months you can operate if growth slows, becomes a number you know without looking it up. The business is alive, but it is not yet durable. Your role begins to split. You are still doing the work, but now you are also coordinating other people doing work. You answer questions, you redirect efforts, you step in when things break and then try to prevent them from breaking again. Mistakes carry more weight now. A bad hire costs you time, money, and momentum. A missed decision slows down everyone below it. At some point, the realization arrives. The idea was never the real risk. Execution is. The business is in the market now. It has to prove it belongs there, not once, but consistently. Repeat customers, predictable behavior, a product that functions without constant emergency. When that consistency begins to emerge, the company stops feeling fragile and starts feeling like something worth scaling. That is the signal. Survival mode is ending. Growth mode is beginning. Level 3, Growing Startup CEO. Your calendar is full before the day starts. Meetings, decisions, updates, requests. The team is somewhere between 15 and 40 people. Departments are beginning to take shape. There are people handling things you used to handle alone, and mostly they are doing it well. Revenue is real and recurring. It is not perfect. There are still fluctuations, but the company is no longer one bad month from disappearing. You start thinking in quarters rather than days. Hiring accelerates. The product expands. Marketing becomes a function rather than an experiment. And then outside capital enters the picture. Investors bring money, but they also bring expectations, targets, growth rates, a timeline that did not exist before. You are no longer just building something. You are building it on a schedule. Your role shifts noticeably. You are not doing most of the work anymore. You are managing the people who do. You run reviews instead of writing features. You shape strategy instead of handling tickets. Releasing control becomes part of the job description, and it does not come naturally. Nobody will care about this company the way you do, but they do not need to. They need to perform. You build the systems to measure that performance, and you act on what you see. Growth at this stage dissolves many problems. It also creates new ones. More people means more complexity. More complexity means more decisions. And gradually, the company stops feeling like a startup. It starts feeling like an organization, layered, structured, dependent on process. When that shift happens, your role shifts again. You stop building the company and start building the way the company operates. Level 4, Established Company CEO. The company runs for a few hours without your input. That was not possible before. Now it is the expectation. The team has grown past 50, perhaps toward 150. Every major function has a leader. Operations, sales, finance, product. Each has someone responsible, someone accountable. The business is stable. Revenue is predictable. The product functions without daily intervention. You are no longer solving urgent problems. You are maintaining and improving a system. Process replaces instinct. Planning replaces reaction. When something breaks, your job is not to fix it. It is to ensure the right person fixes it and that it does not break the same way twice. Delegation becomes both necessary and uncomfortable because delegation means accepting that other people will make decisions differently than you would. Some of those decisions will be wrong. You learn to absorb that without centralizing everything back to yourself. Your hiring focus shifts toward leaders rather than executors, people capable of running entire sections of the company independently. Your time moves to bigger, less frequent decisions, expansion opportunities, long-range planning, organizational structure. Culture grows in importance, not as a concept, but as a practical reality. Because at this size, the company is defined not by what you do when you are present, but by how it operates when you are not. If that system is functioning, growth becomes repeatable. And repeatable growth is what drives the next phase. Level 5, Mid-size Company CEO. The company is too large to hold in your head all at once, not because it is chaotic, because it is layered. Hundreds of employees, multiple departments, management between you and the day-to-day decisions. You no longer know everyone by name. That is the first real marker of scale. The business is strong. Revenue is steady. Profit is consistent. The company does not need to prove it works. That question was settled earlier. The question now is reach. New markets, new product lines, new regions. Growth is no longer about survival or validation. It is about expansion in the truest sense. Your direct reports are not employees anymore. They are directors, vice presidents, department heads, people who manage other managers. A single strategic shift now moves entire departments. A hiring decision at the top reshapes the company's future capability. Communication becomes a structural challenge. You cannot reach everyone directly, so you rely on layers of reporting, on metrics, on outcomes rather than proximity. You are no longer close to the work. You are close to the results of the work. That distinction defines the role. At this level, small efficiency gains produce significant results because the base is so large. But the company is still largely concentrated. One primary market, one core geography. When growth pushes beyond those boundaries, the nature of the organization changes again. The role becomes less about operation and more about direction. Level 6, Large Company CEO. The company is running in places you are not. Different cities, different regions, different countries in some cases. There are thousands of employees across divisions that have their own leadership structures, their own priorities, their own internal dynamics. You cannot monitor all of it, and you are not expected to. Your role is now strategic in the complete sense of the word. You decide which markets deserve investment, which products justify development, where capital should move, and why. Execution belongs to the layers beneath you. Your time is spent in high-level planning, executive reviews, forward-looking decisions. You think in years, not weeks, not quarters, years. Competition changes character at this level. You're no longer measured against smaller players. Your competitors have comparable resources, comparable reach, and comparable ambition. Errors are expensive, not just financially, but reputationally. A miscalculation does not affect a team. It affects the company's position. Your external presence grows. industry relationships, major partnerships, significant deals. You interact regularly with boards, institutional investors, and external stakeholders. The company has crossed a threshold. It is no longer simply a business, it carries influence. And influence, once it reaches a certain size, becomes visible to audiences far beyond your own organization. Level 7, Corporate CEO, Pre-Fortune 500. The company is being watched by people who have no formal relationship with it. Analysts, journalists, investors tracking performance from the outside. The business has grown large enough that its results are publicly relevant. Revenue reports carry weight beyond your own boardroom. Strategic decisions get discussed in places you never enter. You are leading an organization that may already be public or is approaching that threshold. That changes who you answer to. The board of directors, shareholders, market expectations that exist independently of your intentions. Quarterly cycles become a rhythm you live inside. Targets, results, reactions, adjustments repeat. The role expands again. Beyond managing operations or strategy, you are now managing perception. How the company is understood externally is as important as how it performs internally. Every public statement carries consequence. Every major move gets interpreted. You split your time between leading the organization and representing it, board meetings, investor communications, public positioning. The margin for error compresses because errors are no longer internal events. They are observable. Visibility changes the calculus of every decision. You begin weighing not just what is correct, but how it will be received, whether it will hold up to scrutiny, whether it builds or erodes confidence. At this scale, performance must also be legible. It must be trusted. Level 8, Fortune 500 CEO. The company is everywhere simultaneously. Multiple countries, multiple markets, millions of customers, tens of thousands of employees. The scale is beyond full comprehension. It is something you navigate rather than observe. You are running one of the largest organizations on earth. Your decisions do not just affect your company. They affect industries, supply chains, competitors, and markets. A single announcement shifts stock prices. A strategic pivot touches thousands of jobs across multiple countries. The role is entirely directional. You set the long-range vision. You allocate capital. You authorize major acquisitions and partnerships. You determine which markets matter and which do not. Everything else flows downward from those choices. The board is a constant presence. Institutional investors require regular engagement. Public representation, interviews, earnings calls, global forums is not optional. At this level, confidence is a form of performance. The market evaluates not just results, but the perceived judgment of the person leading the organization. Pressure is permanent. So is access. The relationships available at this level, with government officials, global industry leaders, economic policymakers, are tools for influence that most organizations never reach. The company is no longer simply a business in the commercial sense. It is an institution with consequence. Your responsibility is not limited to the next quarter. It extends to the next decade, to the structures you build, to the people you develop, and to what the organization becomes after your tenure ends. At this level, success is measured not only in growth, but in what endures.